Most people live their entire lives waiting for the perfect moment to believe in themselves, only to realize too late that it never comes on its own. Confidence doesn't arrive like a gift. It's built piece by piece in silence, in struggle, and in the little choices you make each day. What separates those who achieve great things from those who don't isn't talent or luck, it's belief. And not the loud, flashy kind. I'm talking about the quiet, solid belief that says, I'll try, even if I might fail. In this video, you'll learn 10 powerful, practical ways to build that belief in yourself, starting from wherever you are right now. These aren't surface-level tips. Some of them are strategies almost no one talks about. They're the kind of shifts that change how you think, how you act, and eventually what you achieve. So if there's a dream you've buried, a goal you've avoided, or a version of yourself you've been too afraid to meet, don't go anywhere. Stay with this till the end, because what you'll hear might just unlock a door you didn't know was already open. Belief grows best when it's fed with small wins. One tiny success leads to another. Not because it proves anything to the world, but because it teaches the mind something powerful. I can do this. Starting big feels exciting at first. The big goals, the massive changes, it all sounds motivating. But the problem is, when the leap is too wide, the fall hurts more. That's where doubt grows. The voice that says, see, I knew I couldn't do it. That voice grows louder with every failure when the steps are too big to handle. Small wins create a different story. When one tiny action gets completed, like waking up 10 minutes earlier, finishing one workout, writing the first page of that idea, it becomes a quiet proof. Not to impress anyone, just to say, that step, done. Confidence doesn't come from shouting affirmations. It comes from doing, again and again, until belief turns into knowing. Those who achieve big things rarely started with big actions. They mastered the habit of finishing small things. And that creates a rhythm, a pace. It trains the brain to seek progress, not perfection. Even something as simple as making your bed every morning, reading one page, or choosing water over soda, these are wins. These are reps in the gym of self-belief. That's the secret most people miss. They chase big moments and ignore the tiny ones. But life is built in layers. Small victories stack up. Day by day, they create a strong foundation. And suddenly, that once impossible dream doesn't feel so far away anymore. It starts with one choice, one action, one win, then another, and another. Before long, the belief that once felt shaky becomes unshakable, because it wasn't built on hype, it was built on proof, real proof, quiet, solid, and earned. Words are powerful, not just the ones spoken out loud, but especially the ones whispered silently throughout the day. The mind listens. It listens when no one else is around. It absorbs every thought, every phrase, and every story told to it, again and again. The problem is, most people don't even notice what they're telling themselves. I'm not good enough. I'll mess it up. That's not for someone like me. These phrases get repeated so often that they start to feel like truth. But they're not. They're just habits of speech. Habits that quietly build walls around potential. Positive self-talk isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's not about lying to yourself. It's about choosing words that build rather than break. It's speaking to yourself with the same kindness, strength, and belief you'd offer a friend who's trying to grow. A single phrase can shift a whole mindset. Saying I'm learning instead of I can't do this gives space for growth. Replacing I always fail with I'm getting stronger every day turns mistakes into steps. The shift is small, but the effect is deep. Because when the mind hears strength, it starts to build strength. Negative talk creates hesitation. Positive talk creates movement. It invites action, effort, and courage. Even something as simple as saying I've got this before a challenge can change the way the brain responds. The body stands taller. The focus sharpens. The fear shrinks just a little. Thoughts shape belief, and belief shapes behavior. That's why it matters what gets said inside. No audience, no applause, just the quiet voice that either lifts or limits. Start with one phrase, one new message to the mind. Repeat it, even when it feels silly. Because over time, that phrase plants roots, and those roots grow deep. Not because the words are magic, but because belief listens, and belief grows from what it hears the most. The mind can't always tell the difference between what's real and what's deeply focused on. That's why athletes, performers, and leaders often rely on mental rehearsal. They see the outcome in their mind first, then move toward it with more purpose. It's not fantasy, a way to train the brain to recognize what success looks like, feels like, and requires. When that vision is clear, decisions become easier, doubts lose strength, motivation shows up, even when things get hard. Too many people start with a goal, but never take time to see it clearly in their minds. They move forward, but their inner world is filled with fog. That's when it's easiest to give up. Not because the goal is unreachable, but because the path feels blurry. A focused mind clears the fog. Visualization creates clarity, not just about what's wanted, but about who needs to be in order to get there. Seeing a version of life where growth has already happened sends a strong message to the brain. This is possible. This can be real. And when the brain starts believing that, the body follows. Choices begin to align. Energy starts flowing toward progress. This practice isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. It only takes a few quiet minutes. Eyes closed, distractions off, and a clear image formed. Not just of the result, but of the steps, the effort, the strength shown along the way. That image builds a relationship with success before it arrives. Every achievement begins twice, first in the mind, then in the world. When the mind rehearses success, it stops being something distant, it becomes familiar, and what feels familiar becomes easier to chase. The world outside might not change overnight, but a focused vision starts something powerful. It shapes thoughts, it sharpens action, it fuels belief, and that belief, once steady, becomes the force that carries effort through resistance, and turns a quiet dream into solid visible change. Confidence grows faster when a real example stands in front of it. Seeing someone who has walked the path, faced the struggle, and still moved forward, this does something powerful. It shows what's possible, not in theory, but in real life. Role models are proof. Proof that obstacles can be overcome. Proof that discipline leads somewhere. Proof that belief, when combined with action, changes things. They make the dream look reachable. Not easier, but real. Watching someone succeed, especially someone who started from humble beginnings, rewires something deep. The brain says, if they could do it, maybe I can too. That shift is quiet, but it's powerful. It breaks the lie that says success belongs only to the lucky, the chosen, or the perfect. It belongs to those who persist, and that's something worth learning. But learning from role models goes beyond watching success. It's about noticing habits, how they handle failure, how they think when pressure builds, how they treat their time, their words, their energy. These are the hidden lessons, lessons that books don't always teach. The goal isn't to copy. The goal is to absorb principles, and apply them in a way that fits the path ahead. Everyone's journey is different, but certain patterns, like consistency, humility, courage, repeat in almost every story of real success. Even a short conversation, a podcast, or a book can plant a seed. It only takes one sentence at the right moment to shift an entire direction. That's the power of real stories. They don't just inspire, they instruct. Belief multiplies when surrounded by living proof, and sometimes the mind just needs a glimpse of someone else doing the hard thing to finally say, why not me? That one question can open the door to a whole new level of effort. Role models aren't perfect, but they're valuable. They light the way, even when the road feels uncertain. And following that light, step by step, builds a deeper kind of belief. One that doesn't fade when things get hard. One that stays. Failure often feels final. It shows up with weight, with noise, and with that sinking feeling that says, you're not good enough. But that's not failure talking. That's fear. Real failure isn't the end. It's a message, one that's often misunderstood. Most people try to avoid failure at all costs. They hesitate, they delay, or they aim so low that falling becomes impossible. But playing it safe slowly kills belief. It teaches the mind that discomfort is dangerous, that mistakes are signs of weakness. That's not truth. That's survival mode pretending to be wisdom. The people who grow the fastest, who achieve the most, all have something in common. They face failure directly, and then they ask a better question. Not why did this happen to me, but what can I take from this? That single shift changes everything. Pain turns into fuel. Loss becomes a lesson. Failure becomes feedback. Reframing isn't denial. It's training. Training the mind to see value in the fall, not just in the rise. Growth doesn't happen in perfection. It happens in pressure, in mess, in trial and error. And every setback carries information. A chance to adjust. A chance to get sharper, wiser, stronger. Those who embrace failure don't fear it. They expect it. They use it. They know the road to anything worthwhile is paved with challenges. Each mistake teaches something that success often hides. How to focus, how to adapt, how to dig deeper when nothing goes as planned. There's strength in looking failure in the face and saying, I'm still here. That kind of courage doesn't just build belief, it anchors it. It makes the next challenge feel less threatening. Because once failure loses its power, confidence begins to rise. Every person aiming for growth will face failure. What matters is the response. Shrink back or step forward. Give up or adjust. Each decision adds to the story. And those who choose to reframe failure as fuel end up writing a story worth following. Not perfect but powerful. Clarity gives direction. Without it, energy gets wasted. Motivation fades. And progress feels like running in circles. That's why goals matter. But not just any goals. Goals that are clear, specific, and reachable. Ones that pull forward without overwhelming.
A vague goal like get better sounds good, but it doesn't show the way. There's no target to aim at, no finish line to cross. The mind needs something sharper, something that says, here's where we're going, and here's how we'll know when we get there. Clear goals act like a compass. They bring focus when distractions try to take over. They offer small wins along the way, which feed belief. Each time a step gets completed, confidence grows. Not because the end is near, but because movement is happening. Big dreams don't need to be abandoned. They need to be broken down. Into weeks, into days, into actions. A book isn't written all at once. A business isn't built in a day. But one page, one call, one decision at a time. That's how momentum builds. Achievable goals don't mean easy goals. They mean goals that match the current level, while stretching just enough to create growth. That stretch creates strength. It trains discipline. It shows what's possible. Disappointment often comes from aiming too high without a path. But when steps are clear, even the hardest task feels doable. Clarity removes panic. It gives the mind something to work with. It says this is the next move, and that alone brings peace. Without goals, effort floats. With goals, effort lands. And the more often it lands, the stronger belief becomes. Because each step proves something. This is working. This is real. This is worth it. The goal isn't just about achievement. It's about alignment. Getting every action, every decision, every habit to point in the same direction. That's how big changes happen. Quietly. One clear goal at a time. Belief grows faster in the right environment. Confidence doesn't just come from within. It gets shaped by what's heard, seen and felt every day. Voices matter. Energy matters. People matter. When surrounded by doubt, even strong ambition begins to fade. Dreams feel heavier. Motivation feels forced. Doubt is contagious, and it often wears the mask of logic or concern. That's too risky. Why not stick to what's safe? Over time, that noise becomes internal. It turns into hesitation. But something shifts in the presence of believers. People who see potential before it fully shows. People who don't laugh at big ideas. Instead, they ask, what's the next step? That kind of support doesn't just feel good. It builds something deep. It reminds the heart to keep going, especially when results haven't shown up yet. One genuine voice of belief can outweigh 10 voices of fear. Not because it's louder, but because it's rooted in growth. It doesn't need proof to encourage. It sees the effort. It values the process. It celebrates progress, no matter how small. Surrounding with believers isn't about comfort. It's about direction. True supporters won't just cheer for anything. They challenge. They hold accountable. They speak with honesty, not to discourage, but to sharpen. That balance creates strength. Seeking these people is a decision. They may not be close by at first. Sometimes it starts with a community online, a mentor from a distance, or a friend who simply refuses to give up on growth. The key is connection. The right kind of voices at the right time. Doubt can't survive in an environment filled with purpose and progress. It weakens. It retreats. Then belief, once planted, starts to thrive. Surrounded by encouragement, the hard days become lighter. The wins feel fuller. The vision feels real again. Growth is hard alone. But with people who believe not just in the dream, but in the one chasing it, that journey becomes powerful. Not easier, just stronger. Progress often moves slowly, so slowly it's easy to miss. Days blur together. Effort builds in silence. And without proof that something is changing, belief begins to fade. That's where tracking makes all the difference. Even the smallest win deserves to be noticed. One workout, 1 hour of focus, one task finished. These moments matter, not because they're big, but because they show movement. Growth is invisible without reflection. Tracking turns invisible effort into visible proof. Success leaves clues. But without paying attention, those clues get lost. A notebook, a journal, a habit tracker, a wall calendar marked with red X's. These simple tools become mirrors. They show what's working, where progress is happening, and where it's stalling. Motivation rises when progress becomes real. It's not about numbers. It's about momentum. That feeling of I've come this far, I'm not stopping now. Tracking fuels that. It makes the journey visible. And when the journey is visible, belief strengthens. It's easy to forget how far the path has already gone. Easy to focus only on what's missing. But one glance at a trail of progress says something powerful. This isn't for nothing. This is leading somewhere. Most give up not because the goal is too hard, but because they forget how much they've already done. Progress tracking prevents that. It's not just about measuring effort. It's about celebrating it. Honoring the work, even when the results haven't fully shown up. Progress builds confidence. Not because everything is finished, but because something is happening. Every box checked, every step marked down, it all adds weight to belief. Slowly but surely, it shifts the mindset from doubt to certainty. Growth doesn't need to be loud. It needs to be seen. And the ones who stay the course are often the ones who can look back and say, look how far I've come. That view gives strength. That view keeps belief alive. Big change doesn't come from big effort once in a while. It comes from small effort, repeated daily. The quiet kind. The kind that doesn't make headlines or bring applause. Just simple actions, done again and again, until they become part of who a person is. Habits shape identity, not just what gets done, but how the mind starts to see itself. One small commitment, done consistently, can say more than a burst of energy that fades after a day. Because habits don't rely on mood, they don't wait for motivation, they just happen, and each time they happen, belief grows stronger. Skipping one day might not seem like much, but a pattern begins with one missed step. So does a comeback. That's why daily habits matter more than perfection. It's not about doing everything, it's about doing something every day. Start small. Wake up 10 minutes earlier. Write one paragraph. Drink one glass of water. Read one page. Over time, these small steps create momentum. They stack up. They compound. And what started as effort turns into rhythm. Discipline builds trust. Each day a habit is kept. That trust deepens. Not with others, but with the self. And that's where true belief comes from. Not empty praise, but the quiet confidence that says, I do what I said I'd do. Even on hard days. Even when energy runs low. Habits carry forward. They protect progress. They keep the fire burning, even when it feels dim. Because belief isn't built on emotion. It's built on consistency. The ones who win long term aren't always the most talented. They're the most consistent. They show up. They keep going. Their actions become identity. And that identity builds unstoppable belief. Greatness isn't born. It's practiced. Day by day. Choice by choice. Habit by habit. Fear never fully disappears. It doesn't vanish with success. It doesn't wait to leave before progress begins. It sits quietly at the edge of every new goal, every big decision, every step into unknown territory. The difference between those who grow and those who stay stuck isn't fear, it's action. Courage isn't loud. Sometimes it's just a quiet voice that says, do it anyway. Not because fear is gone, but because the vision matters more than the discomfort. Fear says stop. Action says go. That tension lives in everyone. And those who move forward learn to act with the fear, not without it. Waiting to feel ready becomes a trap. That day of complete confidence, full clarity and zero fear, never truly comes. But movement changes something. One step forward shifts the energy. It makes fear feel smaller. It brings in momentum. Action doesn't erase fear, but it does weaken its grip. Even a small step counts. Making the call. Pressing send. Speaking up. Saying yes. One action creates proof. And that proof builds belief. Suddenly the voice that says, what if I fail, gets drowned out by a new one that says, I just did it. Fear often speaks in questions. What if I'm not enough? What if this goes wrong? But action speaks in answers. Even a stumble forward teaches more than standing still ever could. The lesson is in the doing. Those who keep growing learn to carry fear, not run from it. They don't need to be fearless. They just need to move. That single decision to act despite the fear unlocks new strength. And over time that strength becomes belief. Each time action wins over fear, confidence rises. Not all at once, but step by step. That's how new levels are reached. That's how a quiet I can't slowly transforms into a steady I will. Belief isn't a trait reserved for the lucky few. It's not something granted at birth or handed down through inspiration alone. It's built, slowly, quietly, day by day, through effort, through focus, through choices that seem small in the moment but add up to something powerful over time. The journey to believe in yourself doesn't begin with the world approving. It doesn't start with praise, attention, or a perfect plan. It begins in silence. In that inner space where doubts rise and courage must answer, where the only voice that truly matters is the one that says keep going. Now after hearing these 10 ways to believe in yourself and achieve things that once felt out of reach, the path forward might already look different. It's no longer about waiting for permission. It's about building one small step at a time. It begins with small wins. Nothing massive, nothing flashy, just the decision to complete one task, take one action, make one change. These wins stack up. They become fuel. They teach the mind that progress is possible, and that success is not a far-off concept. It's already beginning. It continues with self-talk. The thoughts repeated every day are not harmless. They shape identity. That's why choosing words that build instead of break becomes essential. I'm learning. I'm improving. I can do this. These aren't empty statements. They're seeds. And with time, they grow into a belief that can't be shaken. Then there's visualization. Seeing success in the mind's eye before it happens helps it feel real. It tells the brain what to focus on. It draws the body forward. When the vision is strong, the path becomes clearer. Motivation begins to rise not from hype, but from purpose. Role models play their part too. Watching others who have done what once felt impossible provides more than inspiration. It offers a blueprint. Their effort, their mistakes, their triumphs, all become lessons. Not to copy, but to guide. Failure comes next, not as a threat, but as a teacher. It doesn't mean the end. It means there's something to learn, something to refine, something to try again. Those who reframe failure don't lose confidence. They sharpen it. They build it stronger than before. Goals bring focus. Vague ideas stay dreams forever. But when a goal is clear and specific, it becomes real. It gives the mind something to aim for, something to pursue. And when that goal is achievable, every step toward it becomes another reminder that success is within reach. Surrounding yourself with believers strengthens everything. Doubt is heavy when carried alone, but in the presence of people who support the mission, who speak life into progress, and who stay present when the road gets rough, belief starts to grow roots. Roots that hold steady, even in storms. Tracking progress adds proof. It shows that the work is working, even when results are slow, even when energy dips. One glance at the trail of effort reminds the mind, this is not in vain. It makes growth visible. It makes belief logical. Habits are the foundation. Not once a week bursts, but daily steps. Small repeatable actions that become part of who someone is. Those habits build trust in the self. They build rhythm. They protect momentum. And they make belief feel earned. Then there's fear. It never fully leaves. It shows up in different forms. Doubt, delay, distraction. But those who act anyway prove something that can't be denied. Fear doesn't get the final word. Action does. One step forward, even when fear says pause, is enough to change the story. Together, these 10 principles create a mindset strong enough to chase anything. Not because the path will be smooth, but because belief now has a foundation. One that doesn't collapse under pressure. One that doesn't crumble when mistakes show up. One that grows stronger the more it's tested. Belief isn't magic. It's not a gift handed out to a lucky few. It's earned. It's built. And it lives inside anyone willing to do the work. Even when no one is watching. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Every person watching this has a dream buried somewhere deep, a version of life that feels just out of reach, a level of strength, clarity, and confidence that sometimes seems too far away. But it's not. It starts now. With one choice, one action, one shift in how the mind speaks, moves, and grows. There's no need to wait. Not for the perfect day, not for full confidence, not for someone else's approval. The work can begin today, and belief will grow with it. So take what stood out the most. One idea, one principle, one change. Apply it today. Build from it. Keep going, because belief builds with motion, and motion starts right now. If this video helped in any way, if even one part made something click, then take a moment to support this mission. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. It helps keep this message alive and growing. It helps reach someone else who might be stuck, doubting, or just waiting to hear that it's possible. And if more growth, more clarity, and more strategies like this are what you're looking for, then stay with us. There's more to come. More tools, more stories. More steps to keep building belief until nothing feels impossible anymore. Thanks for watching. Keep going, keep growing, and keep building the kind of belief that changes everything.